An 8th grader from Long Island who is still months away from entering high school has already been recruited by and committed to Penn State University.
And that's because of Brennan O'Neill's ability to play lacrosse. The 13-year-old midfielder practices for 2 to 3 hours a day every single day, even when he has games.
It's March 18th, 2016, and on a sunny St. Patrick's Day, 8th grade lacrosse player Brennan O'Neill verbally commits to Penn State University. He becomes the youngest lacrosse player to ever commit to a school, and he kicks off the class of 2020 recruiting cycle. Despite being just an 8th grader, he's already crushing it for the Bay Shore varsity men's lacrosse team, dropping 10 points in just his second high school game. He finished the season with 98 points, one of the most by any player in all of Long Island. Fast forward to April 2017, where a new rule is passed preventing college coaches from communicating with recruits until September 1st of their junior year of high school. Then fast forward and it's September 1st, 2018, during the Midnight Mania lacrosse tournament. This is where the nation's top players play at midnight right before college coaches can contact them again. Brennan puts on an absolute show and is clearly the best player at the event and the #1 player in the nation, no questions asked. Fast forward just a few months later to a crisp Wednesday on October 17th, 2018, when Brennan O'Neill flips his commitment from Penn State to blue chip powerhouse Duke. The #1 recruit mentioned that he wanted to be part of a long line of great Duke attackmen like Zach Greer, Jordan Wolfe, and Justin Gutterding. He keeps it classy though and also says, "I really do want to thank Penn State so much. When I was in 8th grade, I felt like I got better when I committed. Once they took a chance on me, my confidence rose through the roof. And I have nothing against them. I'll still be rooting for them unless they're playing for Duke." Then fast forward to December 1st, 2020, where Brennan is ranked the #1 incoming freshman by Inside Lacrosse. And he's called the Zion Williamson of lacrosse. People are saying that he might be the most hyped high school recruit ever. And he's already drawing comparisons to one of the greatest lacrosse players to ever walk the earth, John Grant Jr. Long story short, Brennan O'Neill has entered the lacrosse world with an overwhelming amount of hype. And now he's 2 college lacrosse seasons in with a U21 World Team appearance under his belt. Today, I want to explore the truth about Brennan O'Neill. How has he performed as the Zion Williamson of lacrosse? And what does his future look like as a college and potentially pro player? Also, I'm building an exclusive community of lacrosse players who are trying to become great, and we already have over 300 lacrosse players on the waitlist. It's called Lax Now, and we'll have our own group chat, weekly film breakdowns, and live streams so you can become an elite lacrosse player. You can join the waitlist for Lax Now if you click the link in the description and put in your email. I'm excited to see you there. So to get the full picture, let's start with Brennan's freshman year at Duke. He started off the season with a bang when Duke played Denver in one of the first big matchups of the college lacrosse season. He absolutely delivered. He scored a hat trick with 1 assist with a 75% shot percentage. 4 points against a top team like Denver is no easy feat, and he got it done. After that, Duke rattled off 9 straight wins to have a 10-game winning streak, and Brennan continued to dominate, averaging over 3 points a game and being an absolute weapon from the lefty wing. Duke had the #1 attackman in the nation, Michael Sowers, so Brennan would feast on the opposition's second or third best defender every time. But after the big winning streak, Duke went on to have a pretty inconsistent rest of the season, but still made it to the Final Four, eventually getting blown out by Maryland by a score of 14-5. Although Duke made it to championship weekend, it was still considered a disappointing season for the Blue Devils as they had all the talent in the world. But the bright spot for the Blue Devils all year long was Brennan O'Neill. He won ACC Freshman of the Year, and he even got USILA All-American Honorable Mention honor, an award most freshmen don't come close to getting. He led the Blue Devils in goals with 45, and he finished second on the team in points with 55. When Duke head coach John Danowski was asked what Duke could do to rebuild, he simply said that they needed to give Brennan O'Neill the ball way more. So in his sophomore season, Duke did just that. He started every game on attack and opened up the season with 6 goals on 9 shots against Vermont on national television. And the lacrosse world knew he picked right back up where he left off. But fast forward just a week later and Brennan scored 0 goals on 9 shots against Manhattan, which was surprising considering Manhattan was a less talented team than Duke. After that, Duke and Brennan O'Neill went on to have a very streaky rest of the year, with highs like beating UNC 15-6 and scoring 7 goals individually, and lows like losing to Jacksonville and only having 4 points. But Brennan did finish off the year strong though, having at least 3 points in his last 9 games. Duke uncharacteristically didn't even make the NCAA playoffs for the first time since 2004, and it was certainly a low year for them performance-wise. But Brennan O'Neill finished the season with 74 points, good for almost 20 more than his freshman campaign of 55. For his efforts, Brennan got second team All-American honor. Then he followed that up this summer when he he represented Team USA in Limerick, Ireland, where they took home the crown as the best U21 lacrosse team in the world. And Brennan was one of the leading scorers on the team and made the tournament all-world team. So needless to say, it's been an action-packed last few years for Brennan, and now it's time to answer, has he lived up to being the Zion Williamson of lacrosse? Well, in some ways, yes. Let's talk about some of Brennan's strengths. On paper, he's had 2 All-American seasons and an all-world U21 tournament, which is more than 99% of underclassmen. His game really shines in a few ways. First of all, his outside shooting ability. Brennan is certainly one of the best stretch shooters in college lacrosse right now, and he can pretty much cash in from any distance. Not only is his shot extremely powerful, but it's also a very quick release, so the goalie usually doesn't see the ball until it's blown right past him. Second of all, his physicality from the wing is huge. He uses his 6'2", 225-pound frame to bully defenders from the wing, and he's not afraid to absorb plenty of checks if it means he has a chance at the goal. There's been countless times where you watch him play, and it almost looks like the defender isn't even there because of how big Brennan is. And third, his deception and low-angle shooting is elite. There's so many goals Brennan has where he's running away from the goal, but he finds a way to use his head and shoulders to fake out a goalie and score from these impossible angles that any pro player would be jealous of. It's these types of goals that I think make him one of the most dangerous players in the country. So with all his accolades and all his strengths, I think Brennan O'Neill has certainly lived up to some of his potential. But I also want to make the argument that we've seen about 25% of Brennan's potential. There are 3 main areas that I'd like to see him improve to become that generational lacrosse recruit that I think we can all see him becoming. Number 1, he needs to become more of a dodging threat, especially from X. Watching some of his games last year, it felt like he couldn't really initiate from behind as much as you'd expect him to. From the wing, he was absolutely money. But if teams were able to shut that part of his game off, he wasn't as versatile on other areas of the field. Although the wing can be his home base, I think Brennan needs to develop a few more moves in his arsenal. For example, an inside roll or rocker step similar to Matt Rambo, one of the best attackmen in the world. Brennan is also so big, so strong, that to me his game would translate perfectly to being a better island dodger. But for me, his shooting is way ahead of his dodging right now. If he can be a double threat, he will be so much more difficult to stop. Number 2, I'd like to see Brennan get more teammates involved and boost his assist number. To double his assists from 10 in 2021 to over 20 in 2022, and as a junior, I'd like to see those get into the 30 or 40 range. If he can start picking apart defenses when they slide to him, he'll be pretty much unstoppable. Because we know if you give Brennan space, he'll score at will. But now if you press out at him and he has 5 or 6 assists a game, it's game over. And number 3, I'd like Brennan to be a little bit more assertive. For such a talented player, sometimes he almost plays too nice and lets the ball go throughout the offense. Although I don't think it's good to be a ball hog, I do think when you're that good, you have the right to get more touches and shoot the ball. I mean, he shoots the ball at around 33%. So if you give the man 10 or 15 shots a game, he's gonna have a lot more goals. I think he has the keys to the Duke offense and they're his to take. Although he's had some dominant games, I'm still looking for a stretch of performances where he solidifies himself as a top 5 player in the game. For example, Connor Schellenberger did this exact thing in Virginia's championship run in 2021. He pretty much single-handedly took over the NCAA tournament and put his name on the map. And I think Brennan has all the talent to do the exact same thing. If he can help Duke go back to a Final Four and even win a national championship, that would be absolutely massive. The crazy thing is, I think Brennan could tear it up in the PLL right now. He's that good and that physically gifted. But like I mentioned, I think we've only seen a small part of what's to come for Brennan. If he can expand his game with his dodging and start getting his teammates more involved, I think he has the potential to be one of the greatest to ever do it. I think he's that special. The fact that he's had this much pressure for so long and has still delivered is quite impressive. And you just have to give him props for how mentally strong he is to do that. And I think this year will be a big moment from him. And I read every comment, so let me know down in the comments below, what video do you want to see next? I'm Jake with Lax Weekly. Go check out Lax now too, and I hope you have a fantastic day.